today we're going to be taking a look at some balance changes. So the latest set of balance changes has been announced. For some reason, it's not up on like Reddit or on the official Clash Royale website yet, at least at the time of this recording, but I was able to find it here on Royale API, so we will be using that today. So I want to also briefly kind of skim through all the other stuff that they did here. They talk about the new card, the Fisherman, the crown chest changes, the melee changes, and this is a really good post right here from somebody on Reddit. But either way, the big thing that I want to focus on today, first and foremost, is the balance changes. So Giant Snowball is the first change that we are seeing here, and I'm really glad that they're changing Giant Snowball. Even though I use it, I may honestly switch back to Zap. We'll see. Interesting little tweak that they're making there. They're reducing the radius, so that means it's just going to hit a smaller area. The circle within where it would normally push things back and damage things is going to be slightly smaller. So honestly, not a big major change, especially for something like that. You just got to position it a little bit differently. You should still be able to hit all the goblins in the goblin barrel and take out a whole skeleton army, and you can still push princesses onto your side of the arena across the bridge and things like that. Just going to be a slightly smaller radius, so I'm not too worried about that one. Do you go up against Giant Snowball a lot?
Not really, no. As far as using it, Zap is always going to be my favorite.
Yeah, I use Zap for a long time too.
I don't see it too much.
I switched to Snowball recently just because it was so meta. It was really underpowered for a long time, and then it recently, after a few buffs, became really strong and popular. So I switched over to using it, and like I said earlier, I'll probably switch back to Zap after I test the little bit of changes here. Honestly, those light spells are pretty interchangeable. This was just one of the most popular ones, right? Yeah. Next, we have the Inferno Tower. Inferno Tower is definitely a hot topic. It has been adjusted many, many times. It's been tweaked here and there, been buffed, been nerfed, all kinds of stuff. So right now it's getting another nerf, minus 25% in lifetime, 40 seconds down to 30 seconds. So it'll only last 30 seconds. And I think that's a good little fix to it, because I feel like that's one of the instances, that's one of the things that made it really powerful, was that it lasted for such a long time. It kind of fulfills that role of taking out a tank, but it's easily counterable. Like when I run Golem Lightning. Anytime they have an Inferno Tower, I always save my Lightning, and I always have Lightning for that Inferno Tower. So it's just going to make it a little bit less of a powerhouse on defense that lasts forever, that can, successfully defend like 3 separate waves, big pushes, because it lasts for 40 full seconds. It's not going to have any less HP as far as I know, or else they would explain that in the description there. It's still going to have the same amount of health pool, or hit points, or whatever you want to call it. And so even though it lasts shorter, in theory, if it gets destroyed before those 30 or 40 seconds, that doesn't really matter anyway, because it'll die, after it gets destroyed by the opponent's units. But if it doesn't get destroyed by the opponent's units, it's just going to be a little bit shorter. So not too worried about it. I think it's still going to be really strong. I think that Inferno Dragon will naturally start to shine a little bit more, but I still think that I'll be seeing Inferno Tower in classic bait decks, in, like that minor balloon deck. I think you're still going to be seeing it around from here to there. Do you run up against Inferno Tower much?
I hate it.
Why do you hate it? It
shuts down my barbarians.
Really? Your E-barbs shut down my...
Or at least, it really reduces their impact.
Yeah. And then do you generally save your Zap for it or something?
I never used Zap on it. Is that good to do?
Well, it stuns it, so it interrupts it. So it's something like E-barbs, it's not going to matter too much. But if you're going up against, like, a Golem, like I said, or if you're playing Golem going up against an Inferno Tower, or Giant, or Lava Hound, or Sparky, or whatever, anything heavy like that, right? Then the Zap will stun it, interrupt it, restart it, and it won't do as much damage. Really vital when you're playing a tank. But again, using something like E-barbs as your win condition, it's not going to be that important, because they don't have massive health pool. Their utility is really in their damage output. So you're not too worried about interrupting them and making your E-bar last a second longer. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just distracts them. It's really annoying.
Yeah, it's annoying. It's a good point to make. Even if you're not running a tank, it's annoying because it has so much health. It's the beefiest building in the game next to Barbarian Hut. I think probably has a little bit more health. Don't quote me on this. These things change from time to time. But as far as I remember, like Inferno Tower is like the highest HP defensive structure, if you're not counting, Barbarian Hut and other spawners and things like that. All right, the next thing is the Barbarian Barrel. Really interesting that they're tweaking Snowball and Barrel at the same time. These were the 2 new light spells that came out at a very similar time, and they became very prevalent after they buffed them about 5 or 6 times in a row. Neither of these spells were used, Giant Snowball or Barbarian Barrel, very much when they were launched. They were pretty much trash for a long time, and they just buffed him and buffed him and buffed him and buffed him. Literally, if you look at the balance change history, Barbarian Barrel got like 5 or 6 buffs in a row. I'm not making this up.
Yeah, I remember.
I think Valkyrie. Yeah, I think Valkyrie is one of the only cards. She has been nerfed now, but for a while, like they kept buffing her. So it's just one of those cards that they just keep buffing it, and pretty much just putting it on her plate and saying, "Eat this," take it, use it, like they did with Dark Prince too. They just buffed him over and over again until he finally started to use it. And now they've actually nerfed the Barbarian Barrel like 2 or 3 times in a row because it was so strong. It was more prevalent and powerful than Giant Snowball for a while. And then the Giant Snowball became the top spell, thankfully, because it was so weak for so long, and it's a fun spell. But the Barrel, it's still prevalent even after all the nerfs. Like, you still see it a lot. It's still really strong. You see it in all different kinds of game modes, ladder, grand, and classic challenges, all kinds of stuff. So I think it's good that they're nerfing both of these. It's just interesting that they're choosing to do both at the same time. Maybe it's necessary. And my prediction is we're definitely going to see a resurgence of Zap and Log back into the meta. Do you see Barrel too much in your trophy range?
All the time, yeah.
Yeah. See, and what are you at about now? Do you know?
I don't remember. I'd have to
It's
check.
like 4,500.
I don't really look too often.
Yeah. Well, I'll pull up my account on my phone here while we're talking about this stuff, and I can take a quick look and figure out. But she was somewhere between like 4 and 5K or something like that. Just where the E-barbs start to kind of peel off and not be so good. So we're trying to look into alternative win conditions at the time. But you can see pretty much anywhere the Barbarian Barrel is definitely used. So let's see, you're at about 5,000 now. Wow, that's nice. That's good. All right, keep it up. Next thing that we have is the Goblin Cage. Well, before we do that, do you have any other thoughts on Barb Barrel?
Not really. I mean, I like using it like in the challenges and
Yeah.
stuff for the tournaments, but yeah, it's a nice card.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna be seeing it less, I think. The change that they made, it's interesting, and maybe I got ahead of myself talking about Goblin Cage. I do want to touch up on Barb Barrel a little bit more. What they're doing is they're making it skinnier, basically. It's not gonna be as wide, so it won't necessarily take out separated skeleton armies as well. But if you still have like a skeleton army coming down the bridge, it's gonna blow up the whole skeleton army at the bridge because it'll still be wide enough to damage them. It'll still do the same amount of damage. It'll still be great at taking out lone support units like musketeers and wizards and things like that. And it'll still completely take out most swarm units. Talking like I said, skeleton army, goblin gang, things like that. It's just gonna be a little bit skinnier. So interesting little tweak that they made to it. I'm glad that they did something a little bit different and original. And we'll have to see how it plays out. Honestly, I'm not too sure how that one's going to play out. All right, now moving on to the Goblin Cage for real this time. Glad that they're buffing this guy. It's definitely a card that fell soft, and I think I prefer it that way. I like it when the new cards fall soft rather than being super OP and used everywhere. Royal Recruits or Night Witch or E-Wiz, or actually was E-Wiz? Yeah, he was really strong when he was released, but not as crazy as like the Royal Recruits or the Night Witch. Rascals were insane for a while too. They were in a lot of decks, but man, those Royal Recruits were in like every deck back when they were 6 elixir.
The guys that spread out and
yeah, okay. The one that spawned 6 of them.
Yeah.
So when they first came out, they were only 6 elixir, and then they finally changed them to 8, which was overkill, and they were never used. Changed them back down to 7, gave them a slight nerf, and they're still pretty underused. But that's just a good example of a card that when it's released is just way too strong. And Night Witch was just insane, if you guys remember that. You would just see these Night Witch clone decks that would just push, from the beginning of the game into 3 crown, you'll have nothing. It was crazy. So the Goblin Cage landed a little bit soft. I'm glad. I think Cannon Cart also landed soft, and we're going to talk about that up here. It's been tweaked many times, but that's another example of a card that when it's released, people don't use it too much. Dark Goblin was a little bit soft. That was way back in the day. And some of the more recent cards have definitely landed, not very strongly. So this minor change to it, 25% lifetime, I imagine that is the cage itself. I don't think that's going to be enough. I think it needs to do a little bit more. I don't think it needs to do damage, but like the Brawler... Oh, there it is. It's right there. The Goblin Brawler does get a 25% damage increase. Okay, so that makes it a little bit more significant for me. I almost wanted to call him the Bruiser. I always get that mixed up.
Is that the guy in the cage?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I don't think I've ever gone against it, so I'm not very familiar.
Right, and that's a testament to its ability and to its prevalence and to its usage, because you're not going to see it very much. It's just not that strong, and that's why they need to buff it, I think. And I think it's a really cool card with a cool concept. It's like a pseudo tombstone with one big beefy skeleton in there instead of a bunch of little ones. It doesn't spawn that trickle of little skeletons, but it pulls enemies in like a building, and when it dies, it spawns a unit. It's really cool, and he's pretty strong, so I'm glad that they're buffing it. I don't know about that lifetime. I feel like that's not too necessary because I feel like the big thing about him is the Brawler itself, and having the cage, when you use it on defense, you're not like putting it down preemptively. You're probably using it like a cannon, using it last second as soon as they place their hog down to distract it or something like that. So this is a little bit more of a significant upgrade for me personally, I feel like. And I'm glad that they're deciding to buff him. Like you said, you almost never see him if you see him at all, right? Do you remember playing him in any of the challenges or anything like that?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, so definitely an underused card. Next two, I'm really excited about these classic cards. Cannon being much more classic for us. Cannon Cart being a newer card, but not too new these days. I really like the Cannon Cart. It was one of my favorite cards for a long time. It's a really cool concept, how it starts as a unit, and when it dies, it turns into a structure. And you can pull off some really awesome plays, like Cannon Cart, and then have their golem or their giant, pass the Cannon Cart, and then the Cannon Cart gets destroyed by their support. And then the golem or the giant turns back around and goes backwards towards the now cannon because it's now building and it's distracting the building targeting troop. So it's a really interesting card. I'm glad that they're buffing it. Or are they really buffing it? I think it's a buff. So let's take a look specifically at what they're doing. They're doing a lot of different tweaks here. So damage is actually getting a reduction, but his range is getting an increase. So to make up for that damage reduction, he can attack slightly further. That'll be pretty cool because I know that there's kind of a blind spot now where when he crosses the bridge, he can't quite target the Princess Tower. So that'll make him a lot more viable, being kind of like a bridge spammy aggressive unit, or just being successful at connecting to the Princess Tower. Hit speed is increasing, so that'll definitely make up for the damage. It's not going to come out perfectly, I don't think DPS-wise, because I'm sure that the math will tell you otherwise, but he'll do a similar amount of damage overall because he's getting that hit speed increase. So he'll attack once every second, and that'll allow him to get that extra attack in, whereas when he had the 1.2 second attack speed, he might not get that one extra attack in. So that hit speed increase can be really good in the sense that it not only buffs their flat-out DPS, but it potentially allows them, in a game like this where things die like that, and one extra hit can make a world of difference, it potentially allows him to get that last hit in a little bit easier. Hit points and shields are going up 1.5%. I think that's both the Cannon Cart, when it's still got the wheels, it has kind of like a shield effect, and then the cannon form, the hit points are also going up. So official HP stands for hit points in this game, I guess. Anyway, major changes to the Cannon Cart. He was really underwhelming for a while, got buffed a bunch, became really powerful, and then just kind of fell off a bit because he got nerfed a little bit, and then he found his way kind of mostly into splash yard decks, like graveyard decks, and they nerfed him recently, and he just hasn't been the same. I don't know why they nerfed him. He wasn't that great of a card anyway at the current time, but they do what they do. Who knows why. But now they're buffing him again, and I'm really glad for that. I want to see him in usage again. I'd like to see this cool, original, fun card a lot more throughout the game. Any thoughts on Cannon Cart?
Yeah, I'm kind of indifferent. I mean, I see it a lot, but I've never noticed it does that much, really.
Yeah, it's not. I'm surprised you see it a lot, but it's not too much of a threat at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of underwhelming.
Yeah, I think that this will make it a more viable range support unit. It is kind of pricey. I think it's like 5 elixir. So that's why, it's just overshadowed by like Wizard and Musketeer and things like that. Now the cannon, the base cannon, this is not the cannon from the Cannon Cart. I don't think. I think this is the actual cannon card, is getting damage increase but a hit speed reduction. So I guess it's just a bit of a rework. It's going to normalize it with the cannon from the Cannon Cart. I see that because they're both going, this one's going up to 1 second, this one's going down to 1 second. So they're both going to attack at the speed of 1 attack per second. And to make up for that, it's getting a pretty significant damage increase. So it's going to hit a lot harder. So that's pretty cool. I like that. It won't attack as quickly, but each attack will be much more significant if it does manage to land them. So do you see cannon a lot?
I can't really think of what that is. Does it sit in the back? And
no, it's a defensive structure. It's really cheap.
Okay.
You usually see it in like cheap hog cycle decks and stuff like that.
Yeah, I can't really think of it. Maybe I haven't seen it much, or I just
Probably
didn't realize
not.
what it was, maybe.
Yeah, probably haven't seen it a whole lot. It's mostly, like I said, just used in hog cycle, like classic 2.6 hog cycle. You rarely see it in any other decks. So maybe this will change that a little bit. Hopefully we'll see it a little bit more prevalent. I like it in the sense that it's just a really cheap defensive structure, but I've never been a big fan of it because I just feel like it's so weak health pool wise. It dies so easily. I would much rather have like a Tesla or an Inferno Tower or some sort of a spawn or even a Tombstone or something in there. But that's just a matter of preference. So that is it for balance changes, guys. Why don't we quickly skim over everything else that's going on here? And you'll notice that I'm taking a look at this from Royale API, not from Reddit, because it's not up on Reddit. So you can watch the official video if you want. Basically, they're coming up with a Pass Royale. It's basically, a battle pass like they do for Apex Legends and Fortnite and all those other games. And this is the first season. They're gonna do a bunch of seasons, which is it's cool. I like the concept. It's something that's becoming more popularized. Just like how League of Legends really popularized microtransactions and things like that. And then a bunch of other games started to follow suit, and that became mainstream. This whole like battle pass, season pass thing seems to be becoming very mainstream, and so Clash Royale's catching on now and doing it. I like the tower skins. I'm not gonna buy it because I don't want to spend money on this game, so just putting that out there right now. But I like the concept of it. I like the tower skin idea. I like the original emote, lots of rewards, more perks, automatic chest unlocking. That's really cool. Something that the community's been asking for a long time. And again, this is only if you spend the money on the season pass, as far as I know.
Okay.
Yeah. Unlimited special challenge retries. So when you finish a challenge and you want to retry it, and you have to spend 100 gems or whatever, you now don't have to. You can just retry for free. Which, if you think about it, if you spend a lot on gems and you spend $5 on gems, that's 500 gems, right? That's 5 retries or continues or whatever, right? In a say a grand challenge level entry cost. Then that's like $5 right there. You could just buy the season pass. So it's up to you if you like spending money on this game. I think it's worth it at first, just to kind of get in the first season. If you don't mind spending $5 on this game. Golden name. So just when you chat, it's just a cosmetic thing. Your name appears in gold. All Royale chests get lightning strikes, so that's really good. People have been asking for that more and more. So it's just like a lightning chest. You'll be able to swap out cards that you don't like and re-roll them for another one. I know Heroes of the Storm has a re-roll mechanic for their chests and their unlocking, and I've always really liked that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always been a good one. Yeah, because if you don't like what you get, you can always just try to re-roll it for something a little bit better. Crown chest changes. They're just messing with crown chests a little bit. I don't want to get in too much with this, but basically there's going to be more tiers of crown chests. You'll still need 10 crowns to open them. There are going to be some new free rewards. It looks like they're saying crown chests now stack. So if you don't play for a few days, you're not going to miss out on the crown chests. You know how you could only get 2 of them before, right? In a 48-hour period. Now they're going to stack up a little bit more. Free legendary in the final season tier if you're in arena 7 or higher. So everybody gets a free legendary at the end of the season. That's pretty cool. Pass Royale, and they get both the regular and the free rewards. So just pretty straightforward. Talking about the new stuff, the new season. The theme of it is the flood with the Fisherman. They're doing a nice new loading screen there. That looks cool. New arena. Here's the new card. I do want to talk about him briefly. Basically, he's Pudge from Dota, or Devourer from Han, or whatever the hook character is in LoL, because I don't play LoL, or Stitches from Heroes of the Storm, or he pulls units in with a hook. You get what I'm saying, right? And what's really cool is, well, first of all, it's a new mechanic in this game. They don't have it in this game yet, so I'm glad that they're implementing it. It's not something crazy and original and new, but it's new to this game, so it'll be kind of cool. Secondly, he can actually pull himself to the nearest enemy building or tower. If he's not targeting a troop, he's not going to pull them in. He's going to pull himself to them, so he can grapple on to a tower like Pathfinder from Apex, and it'll be pretty cool. All right. New game modes. Take to the skies. The arena is going to be flooded, and they're just going to basically you're going to have flying only units. Wild Fisherman. It's basically the elixir rush or the dragon egg unlocking one, where you have the dragon egg in the middle and it spawns a baby dragon or whatever, but with the Fisherman. And then this will be really cool. The melee changes. Basically, they're not changing too much, but they're just kind of clarifying like what's going on here. Basically, every melee unit has a more specific range than just melee. A prince can stab from a lot further, for example, than Goblin can do his little stabby, right? Because he's got a big old lance, and the Goblin just has a teensy little dagger. I mean, it makes sense. But this is one of those things that I'm really glad that they're implementing into the game, and I wish they would do more of. I wish they would add a weight or mass statistic, because it's just for clarity. Like, yeah, okay, it says melee. Why does one melee unit hit further away than another melee unit? And if you're a new player who I'm trying to help out as a content creator for this game, you might not be aware of that. You might think like, okay, every melee unit, they just must hit within melee range, and you'll wonder, why is their prince taking out my goblin or whatever before he can even connect at all? So this clarifies that a lot. I'm really glad that they're doing that. So obviously, long-range units, the prince is a great example. Mega Minion, yeah, he's considered melee, but he can hit from afar. Royal Recruits, they got their spears, so they can hit from afar. Same thing with the guards. Really short range, well, medium range, the Dark Prince isn't as long as the regular prince. Really short range, you know, like the P.E.K.K.A., you know, the goblins, stuff like that. So if you want to go more into detail, they've got all the stuff listed, and you can look at their specific range. And it looks like it goes down to, let's see, more specifics, like the balloon has the lowest melee range. It's only a 0.1 range, so it has to be like right on top of the tower. So it can be broken down further than 0.8 range. So yeah, if you want to look at the more specifics, you can on Royale API. Just Google Royale API, you know, blog, or go to Royale API, and I'm sure that they've got it listed there on the front page right now. Other improvements and fixes, looks like they're messing with Trophy Road a little bit, doing some stuff with Draft. Quests have a wider variety, and they will be doing less. The quests can now be applied to more areas. You can do them in Classic and Grand Challenges more often, stuff like that. Special challenges no longer have base rewards. They'll compensate with milestones. So just a lot of small quality of life stuff there. I don't want to get into too much. And Royale API just gives us a little bit of extra info here. You know, the new classic decks, if you're interested in looking at that, and goes into those decks a little bit. So that is pretty much it for these new sets, or this new set of balance changes. I want to hear what you guys think about all these changes, and what you think about the new season. Let me know if you're going to be buying that season pass, and if you think it's a good idea, or if you don't want to spend $5 on it, and you think it's just another cash grab by Supercell. You know, let me know. What do you think of the balance changes as well? Are you glad that Snowball and Barbarian Barrel are finally getting nerfed? Are you sad that Inferno Tower is getting nerfed? I'm kind of sad Snowball's getting nerfed just because I started using it recently, but that's just, you know, personal thoughts on it. Any closing thoughts here?
I don't think so. I think we're good.
All right. Well, thank you guys for watching until the end here. I really appreciate it. Make sure to leave the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, or you can leave it a thumbs down if you didn't. That's fine. Let's see. All the stereotypical YouTube stuff, like, comment, subscribe, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, guys, and have a good night.